Welcome back to Leeds Lately. Today's video is going to be about Emmanuel Dennis, but before we get into that, if you could just hit that subscribe button down below, that would really help me out. We've smashed that 6,000 mark now. Thank you everybody who's watched that little series I did, that little mini series. There's been a few things to mop up recently. We had a pre-season friendly against Manchester United in which we lost 2-0. Not much to glean from that, but I do think that people like Luke Ayling and Liam Cooper should probably be on their way out the way that they struggled in that game. The other thing is that Pablo Hernandez has retired. If you want to sort of know more on our opinions on that, that was on the Just Joe football show last night. So if you want to go and check out that, if you haven't seen it already, we talked about all of Pablo's magical moments, and basically it was a chance to talk about something happy for once. But yes, today's video is going to be about Emmanuel Dennis. Now, I put him in my XI that I might see at the start of the season, but apparently we've had some new news saying that Nottingham Forest are willing to let Emmanuel Dennis go, and Leeds United seem to be the ones that want him. Now, this isn't from a tier 1 source. This isn't massively reliable, but I can imagine it happening. It seems realistic. There must be some sort of interest there from Leeds, and I'm going to go into why really there's an interest, because a lot of people will look at his statistics over the last season or two and think he's nowhere near good enough to lead the line for us in the Championship. So let's quickly go into them. I've got a new toy now, a new tablet for my videos, so that's what I'm looking down at. Last season, Nottingham Forest, 2 goals and 2 assists. Now, this is the main one that people have been using as a sort of stick to beat him with, or the idea of him with. But when you actually look into it a little bit deeper, he played 19 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. It's not fantastic, is it, for a forward? But of those 19 games, he only started 6 of them. So the rest of those games, 13 of them, he was actually coming off the bench. And we can see throughout his career, typically he does a lot better when he starts games. The season before that, in the Premier League with Watford, the season before that, because he was at Watford in the Championship after they got relegated. But the season before that, he played 33 games for Watford and he started 30 of them, right? And when he did that, when he had a consistent run of games, he scored 10 goals and got 6 assists, which in the Premier League is no mean feat. It's actually really, really good. And he was really good that season. One of Watford's shining lights in what was a pretty poor season for them. Eventually, obviously, ended up getting them relegated with them. But when you actually look into it, yeah, there is more than meets the eye. He's 25. He's not old. He's just probably approaching his prime. He probably needs a good crack at the Championship. And if he was able to get a consistent run of games in the Championship, I think he could do very well. He's not your typical forward. You don't expect somebody like a Mark Viduka style striker who is just there to put the ball in the back of the net. Emmanuel Dennis is a little bit different to that. He's more of a striker who will then drift wide either side to pick up the ball, come deep to pick up the ball, try and get his team up the pitch by picking up the ball deep and driving forwards into the opposition half. He did that a lot in that season for Watford when he was sort of allowed a bit of freedom up there. One of his main attributes is the fact that he can drift wide, pick up the ball in spaces that the opponents aren't really able to pick him up, which was a really good attribute to have in there. Now, I don't get me wrong, that Emmanuel Dennis is the best striker possible that we could get. I think Joel Perreault, for me, I made a video on him, it would be a much better option. But I don't think Emmanuel Dennis is as bad as what people are trying to say. I think there are a lot of attributes that would work in a Daniel Farke system. Now, if you watch my Daniel Farke tactics video, you'll know that he wanted Teemu Pukki basically to sometimes pull wide, sometimes pull to either side of the pitch to allow a number 10 to run in behind him. I think Emmanuel Dennis would actually fit in really well with this idea because he is able to drift wide and allow that space to open up, whilst, like I say, he plays that sort of role. Thomas Muller sort of revolutionised this role as the Ramdeuter role, and it's not exactly the same as what Emmanuel Dennis does, but basically the principle of it is he will sit. He'll be a striker, sort of centre forward, but he will sit in the gap between the midfield and their defence. So in that little space in front of the defence. And the defence don't really know how to pick him up because he's not playing on the last man. He's more playing as a number 10. And yes, we will be looking for a number 10 to sit behind a striker as well. But I think Emmanuel Dennis could actually be really good at both roles. Either being the one at the front who makes the space for somebody to run in behind him, or being the one behind who does the running in behind. He's composed in front of goal in that season for Watford where he was scoring goals. There were moments where he could have shot and then he took an extra little touch, took the defender out of the game and put the ball in the back of the net. He can score from the edge of the box. He can score from inside the box. He's got a good timing of run on headed goals as well. Actually, there was one against Norwich where the ball was whipped in and over the back of two defenders he came in at the last minute on their blind side and just headed the ball in the back of the net over the top of Grant Hanley. And obviously Grant Hanley, not the best defender in the world, but a very big footballer, and Emmanuel Dennis was able to get the run and get the jump on him and score a goal. So I think there are certainly attributes in Emmanuel Dennis's game that would be really, really good for Daniel Farke. And at the moment, I would take Emmanuel Dennis because A, I don't think it's going to be a massive outlay of money. B, we could still get other strikers in if we do get Emmanuel Dennis in, but I think he'd be a really good option because he can play as striker or he can play in that number 10 role as well. And it allows you then to go out and get another striker as well, sort of killing two birds with one stone. Now, I know we don't like square pegs, round holes, because that's something that we've been dealing with for the last couple of years and something that people are very irritated about, the fact that we have players that, they should be able to play in all these different positions. You kind of just want a player now that plays in the right position. But it's not that different, the playing the number 10 role just behind and then playing that attacking role, especially in this Daniel Farke system. He'll be expected to get forward, get into the box and try and score goals. And I think he's fully capable of scoring a decent amount of goals for us if he was to sign. So like I say, yeah, I think I'd definitely take Emmanuel Dennis. I think the fact that he would be fairly cheap and he can play both those positions is something that does tempt me. And I think the link up between him, Ruter, Sinistera, if we can keep him, and some of those other attacking players we have, I think it would be a really good option. I've already said, but he's only 25 years old, so he'll be coming into his prime soon. And he plays for the Nigeria national team as well, has scored a couple of goals for them. So there's definitely a decent player in there. That's what you can say. There's definitely a talented player in there. And under I've forgotten his name, Steve Cooper at Forest, he hasn't really had a look in. He's had some games off the bench, like I say, but I think what he really needs is a run in the Championship where he can show what he's made of, because I think he's really got a bit of quality about him. Obviously, he's been at Club Bruges before, he's been at Watford, been at FC Köln as well in the German league, and I think that might have been in the German second division at the time, and then obviously coming to Forest as well. But I think his career needs a little bit of picking up again, and let's not go down the path of Victor Orta and try and reclaim too many players from the garbage heap. But I think Emmanuel Dennis is one that we certainly should pick up, because, like I say, it's the eye test for me. When you look at his season in the Premier League where he scored 10 and assisted 6, yeah, you think brilliant, bring him down to the Championship. But other than that, he's never really had a massively sort of potent goal-scoring season. But when you actually watch him and you give it the old eye test, which is the best thing you could do really, is to actually watch a player. I think he proves on more than one level that he would do well in this Daniel Farke system, and I think he's a very talented player waiting to be revitalised and put into this Leeds team. So for me, it's definitely a buy. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like I say, a lot of people have been a bit upset about this. Well, not upset, but a bit averse to this one because of his goal scoring record. But when you actually watch him and you see the sort of things he does, the way he plays, the way he picks the ball up, I think he'd be really good for Leeds United. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time on Leeds Lately.